excited to have you guys join us. If you have the ability to turn your cameras on, we'd love to see your faces. If not, that's okay too. While we wait for some more folks to join us, you'll see directions on the screen here. I'm just going to ask everybody to rename yourself. So type your first name and last name, one word that describes how you're feeling this evening.
I'm one of the greatest, ain't no debating on it. I'm still levitated, I'm heavily medicated. Ironic, I gave him love and they end up hating on me. She told me she loved me and she been waiting. Been fighting hard for your love and I'm running thin on my patience. Needing someone to hug, even took it back to the basics. You see what you got me out here doing? Might have threw me off, but can't nobody stop the movement. Let's go. Left foot, right foot, levitating. Pop stars, do a leap with the
Hi, Abdul. Welcome. As you'll see, we're just asking people to rename themselves, following the directions on the screen here, while we wait for more folks to join us.
weight of the world on my shoulders. I kept my head up. Now, baby, stand up. Cause, girl, you want me. I want you, baby. My sugar boo. I'm levitating. The Milky Way. We're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you. Moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you. All night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You. Moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you. All night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like a rocket with your blast off, and I'm feeling so electric, down so awesome. And even if I wanted to, I can't stop.
Right. So if you guys can, rename yourself. First name, last name, one word to describe, or you can enter it in the chat box. Again, if you're able to turn your videos on, we'd love to see you. If not, that's okay too. And then if you can grab a piece of paper and a pen, an activity we'll be doing a little later, that would be great. For those of you just joining us, we're just asking everybody to rename themselves using the directions on the screen. First name, last name, and one word that describes how you're feeling this evening.
Yeah, true. All right, we'll give it a couple more moments, let a few more people come in, and we'll get started in just a second.
No, I won't ever lose as long as you're there. 눈을 감으면 소리 없이 밀려와 이 마음 그 위로 넌 또 한겹 쌓여가 Even when we go through changes Even when we're old Remember that I told you I found my way back home.
Okay, Jason, you are on.
Happy Friday, everybody. Here we go. It's good to see you all. Thanks for being here. This is the Friday Ambassador Workshop series. And I'm glad that you guys can make it. I saw some people writing in the chat that they were tired. This is the time of year where getting tired is kind of part of the contract that you've signed, you know, end of the semester, getting ready for papers and finals and things. But I want to keep us on our mission and make sure that we continue to do the things that we do each week. And so that's why we're continuing to do our workshop series. I think we had a lot of fun last week, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun this week. My friend, our speaker today, Juan Do, has been speaking professionally for over 10 years. Juan is a recipient of the Verizon Wireless Motivator Award and the acclaimed author of Succeeding in the Real World. And he is a city finalist in NBC's hit show American Ninja Warrior. And I think some people got excited about that when they saw the postings. You might have seen Juan recently when grocery shopping, as he was featured on the Lay's chips bags on a nationwide commercial. I saw it. It was very sweet. And in addition to speaking, Juan enjoys constantly being mistaken for a college student, recognized as the best youth mentor by the International Examiner, and one of the 25 most influential people in Seattle by Seattle Magazine. Please put your hands together for my good friend and our speaker today, Mr. Juan Do.
Awesome, Jason. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm curious, guys, by a show of hands or show of virtual hands, how many have seen the show American Ninja Warrior? How many have not? And how many are thinking, dude, I'm on a Zoom meeting, I'm staring at a screen, I'm not going to raise my hands regardless of what you say? Fair enough. Well, if you haven't seen the show, it is a physically demanding obstacle course race show that has people doing crazy things like flying 10 feet above the ground or running up 14-foot curved walls. It was a week before competing on the show, and I asked my coach, do you have any last-minute tips for me? He said, yeah, don't get hurt. I'm thinking, thank you, Captain Obvious. As I go train Dale, I land awkwardly, and what happens? I snap my ankle. I'm thinking, OMG, you've got to be kidding. The pain was so intense. Every time I try to stand up, I would crumble to the ground. And all that went through my head was, Juan, your goal of competing on American Ninja Warrior is over. The reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because I feel that it's a lot like life. You may not have a goal to compete on American Ninja Warrior, but maybe for you this year, it's finding a way to adapt to doing everything online. Maybe for you, your goal this year is how do you still find a way to be engaged at Hostos Community College while doing things virtually? Or maybe for you, it's just finding out how do you make that meaningful connections with the important people in your life as we are going through kind of the aftermath of the pandemic or still within it. Regardless of what your goals are this school year and in your lives, it's inevitable we will consistently encounter these OMG moments, these challenges that come our way. And what I want you to realize is that your ability to overcome adversity, it doesn't come down to your age, your skin color, your background, but what it does come down to is that when these obstacles, when these adversities come up in your life, It comes down to what you decide to do in those moments. So in our time together, I just want to share with you practical advice you can use today that will help you to overcome the adversities in your life and to develop resilience and mental strength. Specifically in our time together, you'll be taken away is you're going to develop resilience, and you're going to take away a technique that will help you change your attitude when times get tough. You'll discover a simple thing you can do every day to decrease any stress you might feel and to prevent you from feeling overwhelmed. And you're going to learn how to create meaningful connections in this virtual world we're living in. Now, before we begin, I want to be very upfront about a couple of things. Number one is I want you to know I'm not here as a speaker to lecture to you. Why? Because it's never fun for someone to talk at you. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been on your fair share of Zoom meetings, and go into a Y in the chat box if you're feeling a little zoomed out or you're kind of over doing things virtually and you want to get back in person. Go and put Y in the chat box if you're feeling that way, and for no, if you're liking this experience doing things online. But again, let me know in the chat box right now, right? Denise Felice, she's saying Y for yes. Who else is feeling zoomed out or feeling, you know what, I'm kind of over this virtual sense? Yes, we have Isabella, Maite, Felucio, right? So you guys are chiming in, and what I want you to realize, Yanira, is that I'm not here as a speaker to lecture to you, but think of me more as just a friend, you know, like a funny, cool, amazingly good looking and humble friend that's here to have a conversation. But to have a conversation, I'm going to need your help. So you guys are hitting up in the chat box here. But I want you to know our time together is going to be a unique experience. Just like if you hung out last week, my friend Joshua Fredenberg, you know, we think the same way. We want to make this an online experience. And so I'm going to need your help, right? There's times I'm going to ask you to engage with me in the chat box. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, raise your virtual hands. I ask you to unmute yourself, speak up. And I need you to do so that we can have a unique experience. I want you to realize is I can literally see every single one of you on my screen. So I see Franco, I see Norma, I see Denise, Yanira, Isabel, Zaina. So realize I can see every single one of you. And just because the camera's not on doesn't mean I can still call you out, right? So make sure you stay engaged here. But if you can, please turn on your cameras because I want to see you, right? If you're worried like, oh man, my place is all messy, don't sweat it. Check this out. I'll show you my place. Dude, it's a hot mess over here. You see all these cords everywhere. So if you're concerned, oh, my stuff don't look good, don't worry about it. We all in this together. And to give you some context, Denise, I see you, Andre, Maite, is that how I pronounce it? Nod your heads, yes? Yeah, cool. So yeah, Yanira. So again, if you can turn your cameras, Franco, turn on so we can see you. But if you can't, for whatever reason, right? We've had people running while listening to one of our events. If you can't turn on your cameras, I want you to know it's okay as well, and that you're still a part of our conversation here. So if you're up for making this less of a lecture, but more of us engaging with one another in this afternoon, if you're up for it, do me a favor. Everyone go ahead and unmute yourself for me. Everyone go ahead and unmute yourself so we can all hear each other. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Over here.
Yes, we see you over there.
I am here.
If you're up for making this more of a conversation, do me a favor, put both hands out like this. For those who are not on camera, I'm going to trust that you're doing this. I want you to put both hands out like this, motion at me like this, and say out loud, Juan, let's have a conversation.
Ethan.
Having conversation.
Have a conversation.
Look, you
Oh, I can't believe you guys did that. No, I'm kidding. Do me a favor, go ahead and mute
Up
yourselves.
there, that's
Thank you
what I
for
was
those who are engaging. Franco, good to see you, my friend. Do me a favor, grab a piece of paper. Grab a piece of paper for me. And I want to ask you, think about since the pandemic has started, and to give you guys some context, if you guys don't know me, I've been a part of your guys' community for the last 5 or 6 years. So it's a bummer that I did not have a chance to come out to the Bronx because it's honestly one of the highlights of my year. So I have a big heart for you guys in Hostos Community College. So it's nice to be back. But I'm curious, since the pandemic has started, I want you to write down on a piece of paper one word that describes how you've been feeling since the pandemic, right? Write down one word on your piece of paper. For those who are not on camera, go and enter in the chat box your one word, how you've been feeling since the pandemic has started, right? So, right, if you're done with your piece of paper, just bring it up to the camera on the screen so we can see your word. But for those who are not on camera, go ahead and write in the chat box, what is your one word that describes how you've been feeling since the pandemic has started, right? We feel uncertain from Denise. We're feeling stressed out by Jason. All right, let me know in the chat box you're not on camera, but for those on camera, take your piece of paper and bring it up to the video so we can see your word. Guys, let me know here. This is the interactive part. We got feeling depressed. Thank you for your candidness. What else? What have you guys been feeling? Siobhan's saying she's been feeling overwhelmed. Challenged, says Abdul. Isabel says she's feeling sad. Andre's feeling secluded. Now, actually, all right. That's great to hear, Lamb. So, oh, Yanira, go ahead and hold up your camera. Good, nice and close, because what happens is your screen, because of your background. Lucky, she's saying she is feeling lucky. Awesome, thank you for sharing that. Now, the reason why I bring this up, Zanaya is feeling hope, which is fantastic, is whatever you're feeling, I want you to know it's not right and it's not wrong. But what's interesting is that a lot of times when we're going through adversity or changes, common advice people will share is the key is to have a positive attitude. Go ahead and nod your head to me if you heard that advice before. Yeah, I'm here to tell you that is the worst advice ever. Why? Because it's easier said than done. I mean, have any of you had any of those weeks, any time during this last year, where anything that could go wrong went wrong? Go give me a virtual thumbs up or give me a physical thumbs up if that's ever happened to you before, right? We see Zanab with her aunt, right? We see Andre, we see Denise in the virtual, Mate with her aunts. So imagine you had this horrible week, everything's going wrong, and then one of your friends comes up to you, they're like, yo, it's gonna be all good. You just need to have a positive attitude. You're thinking, you just need to shut up, okay? Because that's not helping my situation right now. And the thing is, one, having a positive attitude, it's easier said than done. But number two, I think a bigger issue is that so many times people think, hey, I got to have everything together, because if I don't have things together, there's something wrong with me. And what happens is that too many people will put on a front. Too many people put on this mask and pretend that everything's okay in life when things aren't. I'll give you an example where one of my best friends and I, in college, I remember he came home one day and I knew something was wrong. Why? Because all of a sudden, boom, door slams shut. He walks into the room, he takes his books and he tosses it against the wall. I check up on him. Yo, Chris, you okay? He was like, I'm fine. I'm thinking, obviously you are. I noticed on the ground his cell phone broken in half. I'm thinking, bro, if that's what you do when you're feeling fine, let me know when you're feeling awesome, because I don't want none of my stuff near you, okay? And he says, Juan, man, school's just been kicking my butt. My girlfriend and I, we've been fighting. My parents and I have not been getting along, and life is challenging. And what I want to share with all of you is that if you're going through some adversity, you're going through a challenging time, rather than trying to force yourself to be positive, what I think is more beneficial is that you decide to have an honest attitude, right? Having an honest attitude means, number one, you always acknowledge how you feel. You do not ignore how you feel. Do me a favor, go to gallery view right now so you can all see each other. And in gallery view, I want to ask you this question by show of hands or show of virtual hands. How many of you at some point throughout this pandemic have felt a little overwhelmed because all the change that has happened in how you do day-to-day life? Show of hands, show of virtual hands. How many of you guys felt a little overwhelmed? Right, we see Mate, we see Abdul, we see Jason, Yanira, 2 hands up, right? Andre, Zanaya with a round of applause. Hey, Chancellor, good seeing you on camera, my friend. So I want you to see in gallery view that 1, you're not alone, and 2, I want you to know it's okay if you feel that way. How many have felt a little sad with the fact that whether you have not been able to see people in person, what's happening in society, right, with social injustice, right? We see Lamb, we see Jason again, we see Zanaya, Falou, right, Siobhan, Andre, Chancellor. I want you to know is that if you've been feeling sad at one point, it's 1, okay, but 2 is that you're not alone. We're in this together. And I think what's beautiful as you come out to these sessions that your Leadership Academy puts on is that by connecting with each other, it makes us realize we are not alone. And what I want you to understand is that Whatever you're feeling, it's not right or wrong, but the key is you need to acknowledge how you feel. Why? Because we're all like soda cans. What happens as we go through life, life shakes us up. All of a sudden, everything's virtual. All of a sudden, we're not seeing our family and friends. We have concerns about health. We see social injustice. And all these emotions are shaking us up. And what happens, like a soda can, if you don't release that carbonation that builds inside, I'm curious, guys, help me out here. What happens when you eventually open a soda can? Go to motion habit. What happens eventually open it? Right? It explodes. And unfortunately, that's what happens to many people. So understand whatever you're feeling, don't ignore it, acknowledge it, and do it in healthy ways. Whether it's listening to music, whether it's journaling, talking to a friend, FaceTiming somebody, maybe it's connecting with Jason or a staff at your guys' school, but make sure you acknowledge how you feel in healthy ways. Because what happens is there's this powerful quote. I want you to write this down. Whatever you resist in life will continue to exist in life. Whatever you resist will continue to exist. So what do I mean? Let's say you have an assignment you've been procrastinating on. You're like, I'd rather binge watch on Netflix. That paper is going to be still there waiting for you afterwards. Right now, we're mostly at home, all virtual. And all of a sudden, if there's some tension between you and a loved one, a family member, and you don't clear up that air, guess what? That tension is only going to grow. So whatever is what you're feeling, make sure you allow yourself to feel it and to acknowledge it in a healthy way. Otherwise, it's going to grow and get worse. Number two is you want to gain perspective. One of the best ways to do this is to connect like we are all doing right now. At the beginning of the pandemic, actually beginning of 2021, my wife wasn't feeling too well. She works as a registered nurse and she says, my throat's kind of scratchy. So we got tested for COVID. She tested positive while I tested negative. She was panicking. She was freaking out. And I said, hey, you know what? I understand why you feel this way. You have all the right. She acknowledged how she felt. But after you acknowledge how you feel, you want to gain perspective. You want to connect with other people so you realize you're not alone, right? So she started reaching out to different friends who had been tested for COVID, but then who've recovered and are doing well. And by connecting with these people, the perspective she got was one, I'm not alone. But two is by connecting with other people who've recovered and are healthy, it gives me inspiration that I can do the same. But the last thing that she got out of it is that her symptoms were mild, right? She lost her sense of smell, sense of taste, but there are a lot of people that have significantly worse conditions when they got tested positive for COVID. And by just realizing that, like, it doesn't diminish how she felt, but she realized, you know what, even though this was not fun, I'm scared, there's things I could still be grateful for. So understand is that when you're going through a tough time, you're going through adversity, connect with other people, gain perspective so that you can find hope in your situation, but also not to diminish how you feel, but it can also give you a moment to pause and reflect, say, you know what, things are not ideal, but there's things I can still be grateful for, whether it's my eyes that can see, my ears can hear, my beating heart that can feel, whether it's having food, shelter over our head. Gaining perspective is critical to help you to move from what you're feeling to a more proactive state, which is the last step. Decide what you want and take action. Meaning you can think like, hey, this is not ideal, but if you don't do nothing, your life is not going to change. So check this out. How many guys are unsure of what your life will look like after your time at Hostos Community College, or you're unsure of your career path? Show of hands, show of virtual hands. How many guys are not sure? Okay. For those who are unsure, I want to share with you an idea. It's called my shopping spree strategy. What do I mean? If you're trying to figure out what your next steps are in life or what career path you want to go into, I think it's like shopping, right? You go to a store, you go to the mall, you're trying a shirt doesn't fit well, you put it back on the rack. You go to a different rack, you're trying a shirt, it fits well, but it's not cute. So you put it back on the rack. Then you go to a different rack, you try it on, it fits well, looks good, and you get it. It's the same thing with life. What I want to share with you is that figure out your next stages and steps after Hostos Community College in your career path. It's like trying on clothes. You have to try on one outfit at a time to see if it's the right fit, right? For you to be constantly engaged during this time, to send these workshops, it gives you a greater insight on, hey, your interests and disinterests. By working, by volunteering, by engaging in the different opportunities that Jason has available, it gives you an idea of, hey, do I like this or do I not? And I know we have a combination of traditional students and non-traditional students here. And the beautiful thing is, as long as you give yourself permission to try different things on and off, eventually you'll try to find, and you will find the right fit. It's just realizing it's okay if you change your mind. Does that make sense? Yes or no? All right, cool. So here's the thing is, and if you change your mind, it's cool because I'll give you an example, because I know we have traditional, non-traditional students. How many here can remember, go and put in Y in the chat box. For those who are on camera, you just nod your heads yes. Is when you think back to earlier in your life, whether it's middle school, junior high, how many of you can think back and you look at your hairstyle or your outfit and you're like, dude, what was I thinking? How many guys, right? We have people laughing on the screen right now, right? Yeah, and guess what? Styles change. And guess what? Your interest can change just too. And that's why it's like, hey, you know, I'm not feeling this job anymore. I'm not feeling this career path. And you can change. It's all good. The main thing is if you're trying to figure out what it is, give yourself permission to try different things on and off. And eventually you'll find that right thing for you. Now, with that being said, some of you are thinking right now, oh, this is cool. I don't have to always be positive. Exactly. Because it's not that beneficial to force yourself to feel something when you don't. But this is what I realized. When you feel that life is stacked against you, when you feel like, man, this is just so challenging, like, how do you adjust your attitude? How do you develop resilience during this time to push through a challenging moment? And I want to share with you a technique you can use that will help you change your attitude when times get tough. This technique, it's called changing your playlist. I want you to imagine this. Imagine that you're having a rough day and you're going home and you notice that your favorite song is playing. Now, if you're listening to your favorite song, whether it's in your headphones, in a car, if it's your favorite song, let me know in the chat box, what are you about to do? Real talk, let me know in the chat box right now. If it's your favorite song, what are you about to do? Siobhan says she's about to turn up and sing. Monte said, I'm about to dance, right? You're about to bump the music. You're feeling good. You're feeling yourself. You're singing, you're dancing. You're feeling happy. Any stress you felt melts away. But then the next song that pops up is a horrible, annoying, whack song that kills the mood. I'm curious, if it's a song that you don't like, it's a horrible, annoying, whack song, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue listening or are you going to change the playlist? Help me out here, guys. Lamb saying pass, right? Am saying skip? You're going to change it. You're going to skip it. Well, check this out. Whether you realize it or not, we all have whack songs that play in the playlists in our head. But the challenge is that the songs sound like this. There's no way you get no A in that class because you're not smart enough. Oh, you into that person? No, they won't be into you because you're not pretty enough, because you're not athletic enough. Oh, you want to get that dream job? Come on, be real. You're not experienced enough because you're too young or you're too old. And you can't do that thing because you're not something enough. Unfortunately, we're never taught how to change that negative self-talk, that whack song that plays in our playlist. You see, for me, I come from a family that escaped Vietnam after the Vietnam War. My dad, he was a fighter pilot in the United States. And when the war is over, he was forced into re-education camp, which is kind of like a prison, for 4 years until my mom broke him out. They fled to the United States on a boat. They came to Washington State, where at the time we lived in a city, what was considered the top 3 most dangerous cities in the entire country. And growing up, we didn't have a lot, but we had a lot of love from my parents. And so growing up, all I wanted to do was to succeed so I can make my parents proud, and to succeed so I can take care of my parents. So going into high school, into college, I had a chance to go to a 4-year university, but also had a chance to go to a 2-year community college. But going into life after high school, it was tough. Why? Because on the surface, everything looked perfect, right? I wasn't the smartest person, but I worked really hard. So I was averaging a 3.7 GPA for school. I had a chance where I was ranked top 10 in wrestling for the state of Washington. I got accepted to go to Pepperdine University down in Malibu, California, which was at the time was ranked one of the top 50 schools in the country. I was prom king, all that stuff. But what people did not see was that oftentimes I felt depressed. I felt depressed because my whack song, that negative self-talk in my head, was that I wasn't good enough. And the reason why I believed this was because oftentimes I had this huge issue. I would constantly compare myself to other people. And real talk, right now, today, I think it's easier to have that challenge because, right, you got social media. You're like, dang, you look at someone else's life, think, oh, I wish my life was like that. And for me, because I kept comparing myself to other people, I always felt I wasn't good enough. So I had a chance, like I mentioned to you, I went to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. And that area is very wealthy people. I'm talking about, we had people like Carlos Santana, very famous Latin musician, right? His daughter went to our school. She was dating one of my friends. We had people who were part of professional sports teams. Their kids go to school. We have top CEOs of companies that would go to our school. We have people rolling up in cars that are worth more than houses. For me, I had to go to school on financial aid. I had to get scholarships. I didn't felt like I fit in. And I remember going to school, it was challenging because I met people who never worked a day in their life. I met people who never seen any person in the African-American community, never seen a Black person in their life. And I felt out of place. And I felt also out of place because for me, academically, like I was not on par with the other students there. My GPA was below the average student. My SATs was well below. So I would struggle in school, particularly with the business calculus class. And what had happened was no matter what I did, I visited the professor during office hours, I got tutoring help, I just didn't get it. And what was so frustrating, I look over to everybody, it's so easy for them, yet so difficult for me. And I was thinking, man, Juan, what's wrong with you? All of a sudden I hear in my head, boom, Juan, it's because you're not good enough. I remember in my second year of college, I had a chance to study abroad in Florence, Italy. On the surface, like, dude, you got to live overseas? You must feel amazing. Yeah, it was cool, but what people did see, I was constantly feeling overwhelmed. Why? Because I was involved in a lot of different activities. For me, like I said, I didn't come from a family with a lot of money. So rather than ask my parents for money, I'd be like washing dishes to get extra money so that I can have some type of experience over there without burdening my parents. And I remember one day, I, along with all the other students, had procrastinated on this paper. So we pulled this all-nighter in the computer lab. And the thing was, by the time we got to the morning, everyone was done with their paper except me. I had maybe one page written out of 12 pages that was due. But for me, I was just so sure, I felt broken. It was like the last straw on the camel's back where I'm like, dude, I'm done. I just can't think anymore. And every time I see the teacher, they'd be like, hey, you got your paper yet? I'm like, no, I'll get it to you. And it became a point where we just would never bring it up. So every day that would pass by where I did not finish this paper, it was just always hanging over my head. You know, every time I go to bed, I remember my head would be like throbbing. It felt like someone took a baseball bat and just cracked me on the side of my head. And I remember eventually I saw a school psychologist because I was thinking I was just couldn't function properly. And I remember I was so stressed and overwhelmed that one day when I was walking on this bridge, I was thinking, man, I could get rid of all these horrible emotions if I were just to walk off this bridge. The reason why I had suicidal thoughts was because my wax song was that, hey, the reason why this is happening is because you're not good enough. And for me, it didn't stop there. After graduating from college, I remember when I was pursuing this path where I felt this was my calling. I knew when I was a junior in high school that I was going to make a difference in this way. I remember I felt a huge imposter syndrome. Why? Because I finished writing this book, but I was used up $20,000 in savings. I was in this massive credit card debt, and I was humbled. Why? Because I had to do whatever it takes to make ends meet. And the problem with that was that I felt like a huge imposter, right? I was thinking people think I'm this huge successful person, but deep down inside, people don't see the struggles I'm going through, the financial challenges that's happening in my life. And the reason why this is happening, because all I can think about is that wax song, Juan, it's because you're not good enough. And the reason why I shared this with you is because these are just some of the many wax songs, the negative self-talk that I had to work through and overcome in my life. I'm curious, what are the wax songs? What's the negative self-talk that's playing in your head in 2021? Do you have a wax song about your ability to excel after your time at Hostos Community College? Do you have a negative self-talk about relationships in your life that if you can improve them or not? Or maybe your wax song is your ability to make some type of meaningful connections during this virtual world, or stepping up into a leadership position at school or at your workplace. You see, I want you to realize these wax songs is something that we all have, and they were written by something that happened in our past. Maybe you had a setback in your life. Maybe you had a negative experience. Maybe someone said something mean to you. What I want you to realize is the past is the past. You can't change that. But what you can change is everything moving forward. Why? Because your past does not predict your future. The mistakes that you've made do not define who you are. And your setbacks in life does not determine your future success. What does? It's you making that decision. The next time you feel yourself with that negative self-talk is to change that song in your head. So check this out. The next time you're feeling overwhelmed, you have that negative self-talk playing, you want to change your playlist, this is how you do it. You simply say, hold up, that is whack. Some of you are sitting here thinking, no, Juan, whatever that was whack. And I know it's silly, but it works, and for two reasons. Number one, it's silly, so it makes you laugh. Let me know in the chat box, Y for yes, N for no. When you laugh, do you feel better, yes or no? Let me know in the chat box, Y for yes, N for no. When you laugh, do you feel better, right? Yanir saying yes, Lamb saying yes, right? Jason saying yes, Denise. So here's the thing is when you laugh, you feel better. When you feel better, you think clearer and make better decisions than when you're stressed out. Second reason why this technique works, it is so random. It will make you temporarily forget about what's stressing you out. In behavioral psychology, there's something called a pattern interrupt, and I'll demonstrate to you. Anyone here, do we have any parents here? Show of hands, show of virtual hands. Any parents here? All right, so check this out. For parents, right, you can have the worst day ever, and all of a sudden your child can come up to you, they do something really cute, really sweet, they come up to you, I love you, and they hug you, and it just melts your heart, right? You can be stressed out, but when your child says, I love you, to do something adorable, you instantly feel better. That is a pattern interrupt. Anyone here have pets? Any pet parents? Right? You guys have pets here, right? You got a pet, right? All of a sudden, dog comes up to you, face in your lap. All of a sudden, like, oh, or a cat curls up next to you. Or maybe for those here, maybe all of a sudden you have this the worst day ever, and you get a text message where it's like good news, whether it's about a job or someone you really care about reaches out to you, right? You feel better, right? There's Mate with her dog in the background there. Well, that is a pattern interrupt, right? What a pattern interrupt does, it is distracting you from what you're feeling and thinking to then shifting over to what's different. I mean, I'm gonna give a shout out to New York, right? Your New York Knicks, they picking up their game now. All of a sudden, beforehand, last couple of years, they were not that great, right? So then you feel horrible, but they do it awesome now. Guess what? They score, they win, you feel good. That is a pattern interrupt. So hold up, that's whack, it's silly, but it is a pattern interrupt to help stop you from what stresses you out so you can take a mental step back and recollect yourself. Nod your heads if that makes sense. All right, cool. So check this out. When you say, hold up, that's whack, that's like you changing the playlist on Spotify. But you're just not going to change a song if you're listening to music. You want to change it to something you actually like. So to do that in real life, if you want to change the playlist in your head, you say, hold up, that's whack, because the truth is, and then you give yourself a reason why that negative self-talk isn't true. So at the very beginning, if you guys remember, I showed you this picture of my ankle when I snapped it before competing on American Ninja Warrior, right? When this happened, I was thinking, Juan, you're such an idiot. How'd you mess this up? I had all these whack songs going through my head. Now check this out. If you're taking notes, write this down. In life, no matter how challenging a situation is, there's two things you can always control. Number one, you can always control how you react to a situation. Number two is you can control what you do about the situation. If you focus on things outside of your control, oh man, when are we gonna go back to in person? What did that person say about me? When you focus on things outside of your control, that's a guaranteed way to feel frustrated, because guess what? You can't do nothing about it. I'll give you an example where last fall, I had a chance to partner with Lay's. So in the background here, you see these pictures of all these Lay's. That's my face on the bag of chips. I'll show you the back of the bag here, where in the fall time, we partnered up with Lay's in Operation Smile. All right, so this is the bag of chips. That's my smile on there. In the back has a picture of me and my story. This was all across country, 5 different flavors. It was a very positive thing that happened in my life during the pandemic. And what was cool about it is that every bag that was purchased, a portion of the proceeds would go to Operation Smile, which is an international nonprofit where when people who are born with these cleft lips, right? And they need these life-changing surgeries, or some people can possibly die. Those proceeds helped a positive cause like that. And I remember we were getting all this press locally in Seattle, Washington, where I live. And then a newspaper posted on their Facebook page, and some person commented like, nah, I'm cool. I don't want no chips with someone's face on it. And another person said, why you gotta be like that? Like, and the person's like, no, man, I just don't want to get coronavirus. And then another person took the picture of bag of my face and they stretched it out, and then they made it look like a bat. And it was sucky to see this, right? It's sad. But what I want to share with you guys is this, is that I can't control what people say or what people do. And if I focus all this energy on it, then I would only feel frustrated and upset. Versus what I chose to react is, one thing I've learned in life is that oftentimes people will project what they feel. So when people are nasty towards other people, it's because, dude, there's something not going so well in their life. And as I told you earlier, how you feel is not right or wrong. It's what you choose to do with your feelings that can be right or wrong. Like if you're hurting other people, you say things that hurt other people, that's not cool. Like you can feel upset, but if you act a certain way, then that's not okay. So for me, that's what I chose to do. Focus on what I can't control and just say, you know what? I'm not going to give too much energy to this because that person's in their own little world, and I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. So again, when things happen in life, no matter how challenging it is, there's always things that's in your control. And the two things is, one, how do you react to the situation? And what do you decide to do about it? Now, when I snapped my ankle, I had all these whack songs. The thing is, I still wanted to compete on the show, right? Honest attitude. Acknowledge how you feel, gain perspective, decide what you want. I said, I still want to compete, but with all this negative self-talk going through my head, I knew that I was not in a place to feel like I could do this. So I realized I had to change that whack song. So I was like, hold up, that's whack. Because the truth is, I eat problems like this for breakfast. Now, when I said this out loud, I was like, yeah, I do eat problems for breakfast. Because in that moment, when I said that loud, I started to laugh. But then I started to remember back to a time in high school, I was thinking, dude, I had this injury that was way worse than this ankle injury before competing on American Award. And I was thinking, if I can make it through that, then I can for sure make it through this. What's interesting is that when we experience challenging moments in our life, our brain, the way it's wired, it's easier to recall unpleasant emotions than pleasant ones. So when you say, hold up, that's whack, and it makes you laugh, it gives you the opportunity to take a mental step back, go into your long-term memory, and remind yourself of all the incredible things that you've done and that you've overcome in your life. Because I realize I don't know you personally, but what I do know is that you've been through some challenges in your life and you've overcome some challenges. Is that fair to say? Yes or no? But the thing is, when we're in these stressed out moments, like, oh, dude, I didn't study for that exam, or, oh man, like, I'm not sure if I'll get this job and these people seem too qualified. We begin to panic and we think of the worst case scenario. Do me a favor, in the chat box right now, what is something that you've overcome in your life that you are exceptionally proud of? What is something in your life when you tell someone a part of your story, people are like, are you for real? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's so inspiring. Let me know in the chat box right now. What is something you've overcome in your life that blows people away, that inspires people? I shared with you in my end where I went through suicidal thoughts. I went through older brother, 10 years of a gambling issue that nearly tore our family apart. For me, I mean, I had an experience last couple of years where I went through something that kicked the snot out of the gambling issues, the suicidal thoughts, and the financial debt I went through, right? We have Jason saying here, fear of failure. That's something that he had to overcome. Help me out, guys. Let me know in the chat box right now. What are something in your life that you've overcome that you're like, wow, you're exceptionally proud of? No, death. Siobhan saying death of a best friend. Denise saying homelessness. Thank you for your guys' vulnerability and the courage to share. Criminal justice, poverty, mental health crisis. Thank you for sharing that, Henry. Come on, guys. Let me know in the chat box here. I know there's more than 5 people on this line now, right? Let me know what's on your mind. Sarah, Amidia, Itamar, right? Overcoming depression, loneliness. Coming to this country, learning a new language while getting my associate's degree. That's what's up. working 40 hours while attending graduating nursing school, being a single mom, every minute felt like I was last minute before giving up, being afraid. I want to thank all of you for just your vulnerability and sharing, because I know it takes a lot of courage to share what you guys are sharing. But my hope, as you see what other people are sharing, is that you realize, number one, is you're not the only one going through certain adversities in your life. But number two is, by seeing this, is you're seeing that it is possible to be real and to have meaningful conversations with people in a virtual world. So hopefully that incentivizes you to realize, you know what, I need to keep coming out to these Friday workshop series to constantly plug in, not only get inspiration, but to create a community with one another. But lastly, number three is, by seeing these things, my hope is that you remind yourself and you see, like, dude, I've been through some stuff in my life. Because again, when we're stressed out, we focus on that thing in front of us, like, oh man, this virtual world, I don't like technology, deal with this. We stress out, but when you're like, hold up, that's whack, take that step back and you start remembering these things. And that's why I'm saying it's not about being positive. It's not put on a front pretending that everything's okay in life. But what it is about is being real with ourselves. And part of being real is acknowledging how we feel. But the other part of it is recognizing that you've been through a lot in your life. And by remembering these things, you can draw on them for confidence. And you can use that confidence to continue to move forward in life. Does that make sense? Give me a Y in the chat box, or give me a virtual thumbs up, physical thumbs up, if that makes sense. Awesome. So check this out though. When you say, hold up, that's whack, and you say your affirmation out loud, you have to continue giving yourself reminders why that negative self-talk isn't true. Why? Because oftentimes when we have this negative self-talk, like, oh, I'm such an idiot, how did I make that mistake? Or I can't believe I said that out loud. Is oftentimes we beat ourselves up and it plays in the background. It's like if you hear a Justin Bieber song, like a whack song, a Justin Bieber song, and you only change the playlist one time, the song will still be stuck in your head. Is it too late now to say sorry? Because I'm missing more than just your vibe. Don't pretend like you don't know the lyrics. All right, back to my story, right? So my ankle snapped. I'm thinking, dude, I got to keep changing my playlist. So I was like, hold up. That's whack, because the truth is, I got this. Hold up. That is whack, because the truth is, man, the bigger the setback, bring it. The bigger the comeback. And the thing is, as I said these things out loud, I started to remember back to the suicidal thoughts I had to overcome. I started thinking back about the challenges in my life, from my brother's gambling issues that nearly tore our family apart, being in financial debt, all the things we've been through. And as I started remembering these things, I was thinking, dang, I got this huge list of things I've overcome in my life. And now all I got in front of me is this ankle injury. Are you for real? I got this. So by remembering these things, by doing this technique, I'll gain the confidence to say, you know what? I know I can do this. Now I got to figure out a way. So what happened was we did physical therapy every single day, 4 hours a day for the entire week until the end of the week, where I flew down to California and I competed on American Ninja Warrior. Competing in the show, I made it to the city finals with an aired on national television. I'm sharing this to you not to impress you. I'm sharing this to you because this technique actually works. Don't take my word for it though. I want you to try it out for yourself. Right now, I want you to think about, what is that negative self-talk in your head? What is that wax song in 2021? Whether it's about school, about your career, about a relationship, about finances, your health. What's that negative self-talk? Now, I'd like you to repeat after me. Hold up. I'm sorry, you guys are just staring at me. Are you guys lagging right now? Help me out here. Let's do this again, okay? Hold up. That is whack. All right, here's the thing, all right? I can see some of you on my screens, there's some of you I can't. But this is what I do know. Be real with me now. Scale from 1 to 10. How would you rate yourself? 10 being you gave it all the energy you had. 1 being you did not even try. If you're on camera, show me with your fingers. If you're not on camera, let me know in the chat box. 10, you gave it all the energy you had. 1 being you did not even try. Jason's saying 7. We got a 3 from Siobhan, right? Chancellor's saying 7, right? We got 5 from Mate. We got 6 from Yanira. We got 6 from Andre in the chat. Miriam saying 7. Isabel's raising her hand, which I'm going to guess is the number 5, right? All right, cool. So all you would agree that together we did not give it a level 10, right? Nod your heads yes if you agree with that, or put Y in the chat box. Okay. So let me ask you, real talk is, why didn't you give it a 10 in the first place? Some of you like, I wasn't ready. Some of you like, this is silly. I ain't doing this. Some of you like, I came here to make friends, not lose friends, right? Whatever is your reason, I'm sure it's valid and true. But check this out. I've done this all across the world. I'm talking about with elementary school kids in the Virgin Islands to top CEOs. And I've done this. And the reason why people don't give it their best effort up front the first time is the fear of being judged. Man, what if I look silly? What if I look stupid? I don't want to do this. And I can respect that. You know, for me, there's times I'm like, nah, I'll watch first. But this is what I realize is in life, how we do one thing can affect how we do everything. This is what I mean. Has there been a time in your life you wanted to talk to that person you really liked? Has there been a time in your life that you wanted to apply for that leadership role, or you wanted to go to that social event, but you didn't do these things because of a whack song in your head? And my guess is yes. And what I want to share with you is that it's the whack songs in our head, that negative self-talk, that prevents us from going all out, right? Because think about when you pursue your goals in life, it's going to require you to break out of that comfort zone, like talking to that person you like, or going after that job or that leadership position. But it's that negative self-talk that holds us back. And what I want you to realize is that, number one, I'm gonna give you a second chance. So we'll do this exercise one more time, right? So for those who are not on camera, if you can turn your cameras, we'd love to see you for this. If you're not, that's cool. But if you can't turn your cameras, you want to see, but we're going to give it a level 10 effort. And the reason why this is important is this. Everything that you want will require you to break out of that comfort zone. And understand it's what it really comes down to is having the courage to let go of people's thoughts. Because you can't control what people think, but what helps is just exercising that muscle called courage, right? Think about it. It's like a weight. You exercise that muscle, the stronger your muscle gets, the lighter that weight gets. The more times, right? Let's say the Zoom meeting is, you don't normally speak up, but you raise your hand to speak up. Or all of a sudden, finally, there's a person you like, you go talk to them. It's scary, but the more times you do it, it gets less scary, it gets easier. Courage is not about not being afraid. It's being afraid to say, you know, I'm going to do it anyways, because that's how you grow in life, right? So this is what's going to happen. We're going to do this again, but you got to give it a level 10 effort. Are you guys up for that challenge? I'm looking at my screen at your body language. And if I had to reply to you, I'd be like, your enthusiasm is overwhelming. Let me ask you, show me, are you guys ready? Yes or no? All right, so do me this favor. I need a couple volunteers. Let me get 4 or 5 volunteers. If you like to volunteer, simply raise your hand or raise your virtual hand, right? If you don't want to volunteer, you might be voluntold, right? So either you can raise your hand. Okay, there you go. We got Chancellor. We got Isabel. We got Maite. Yanira. All right, that's what's up. So if I called you Miriam, go ahead and unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves. For those who I called on, go ahead and unmute. Yanira, go ahead and unmute yourself. This is what we're going to do. Siobhan, if you could put all those people on the screen with me, put all of us on the screen, please. What's going to happen is this. All of us will do this together, but the volunteers will be the only ones unmuted. Oh, Andre, I'm seeing you're raising your hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself, my friend. Yanira, go ahead and unmute yourself. What's going to happen is we are all going to be doing this together. You got the vision, right, Neil? I mean, Brandon? All right. Let's go. Whoever's in the background, Yanira, I think that's you, right? Don't keep that person there. They can be a part of it too. But this is what's up. We're all doing this together. All right. And what's going to happen is in a moment, we're going to clap our hands to bring up the energy in this virtual space. And here's the thing: is I want to be so energetic that wherever you're at, I guess if you're at home, is that your spouse, your family members are like, "What you doing?" But I want to be that energy where they be like that, but they're like, "Hey, dude, that looks like fun though. Let me be a part of that." Right? That's the type of energy I want. So in a moment, we're going to clap our hands. I'm going to count to 3. Once I get to 3, you will stop clapping, and then I'll say, "Hold up," and then you start repeating after me. Give me a 2 thumbs up if that makes sense. Sure. Awesome. Very good. So
yes.
Ayúdame a hacer esto.
Let me ask you, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Uno, dos, tres. Go ahead and clap it up. 1, 2, 3. Go stop clapping. Go to repeat after me. Hold up.
Hold up.
That
That
is whack.
is whack.
whack.
Because
That's what.
Because
the truth is,
the truth is,
I eat
I eat
I eat
problems
problems
problem
for breakfast.
for
for
breakfast.
breakfast.
Man, I said, hold up.
Hold up.
That
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 is whack.
is whack.
Whack.
Because
Because
the truth is,
the truth is,
is
the bigger
The
the
bigger.
bigger
the setback,
the setback,
the bigger
the bigger
bigger.
the comeback.
the comeback.
Bad.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Everyone go to gallery view so you can see each other. Go to gallery view for me. Go to gallery view. Do me a favor. In gallery view, everyone put your hands out like this. Put your hands out. I want you to go ahead and do this. High five the person to the left and the right of you on the screen. There you go. Very good. Awesome job. Awesome. Great. So let me ask you guys. Did that feel a little silly, yes or no?
Of course it did.
Yes.
Yes, of course it did. But check this out.
Not doing to me.
Do you feel better? Whether you're more awake, more relaxed, just better overall mood, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Here's my
Yes.
answer.
Yes.
I know it's silly, but it works. And personally for me, I rather feel a little silly and be like, you know what? I feel better. I can go on with my day than be like, I'm too cool to do this and continue feeling stressed out. You feel me? So if you're feeling overwhelmed, boom, change that playlist in your head. If someone in your house is doing something silly or wacky, be like, hold up, that's whack. They won't understand what it means, but it will make you laugh and it'll help you to feel better, right? So anytime you feel overwhelmed, change that playlist. Now, understand this. This is one of many techniques that can help you to change your attitude when times get tough. By remembering back to those challenges, that's what helps you continue to develop that resiliency to say, you know what, I can make it through this. But I think what's really critical and crucial is for you to make sure during this time is to continue to make time to take care of yourself, right? I want you to check this out. Let's imagine that you decide to go on a road trip with friends or family in New York, and you notice that the engine check light in your car is on. Let me ask you, if the engine check light is on, should you continue driving or should you pull over? What should you do? Help me out, guys. Should you continue driving or should you pull over? Help me out. What should you do? Motion at me or let me know in the chat box. What should you do? Exactly. Falu is saying pull over. Right? Siobhan is saying pull over. But this is the challenge, right? The pandemic, right? It was just a huge shock for everybody. There's a lot of changes. And what changes when it's a force upon you, it's out of nowhere. It can be challenging. And I want you to know is that we know we should pull over with our car, but do we pull over ourselves personally? Because what happens I see during this time is too many people have their personal engine check light on, right? They're constantly in front of a screen, and rather than connect people, they just go in front of a screen for entertainment at night or on their phones, and they don't take care of themselves. And the challenge is if you don't take care of you, similar to a car, you will break down, except you will break down emotionally and physically. Earlier on, I shared about my story and how I felt like an imposter, right? Straight out of college, I used to work as this corporate trainer. I wrote my book, I had this book launch, I was in massive debt. And what people didn't see was that I call it the sexy and the non-sexy. The sexy is when you go to someone's Instagram, you check someone's TikTok video, and they're like, dang, dude, they got this amount of followers, or that's what their life is. But the non-sexy is behind the scenes, what people don't see. Where I was working multiple jobs to make ends meet. I remember I was selling Comcast cable. I was like knocking on doors selling cable. I was working at the Pacific Northwest Ballet. So I was doing telemarketing, selling ballet tickets. I was getting donations for the ballet. I also was delivering phone books. Now, for those who are thinking, what's a phone book? It's this really thick book that looked like a dictionary. And inside of it was people's home phone numbers when people used to all have home phone numbers. So I was doing all these different odd jobs to make ends meet so that I felt I could live out what I felt was my calling. And I remember one day I was driving up to Seattle and I was going through this intersection and the light went from green to yellow. And if you're in my shoes, what would you do? Would you stop or would you drive through the intersection? Let me know in the chat box. Would you hit the gas, go through, or would you stop? What would you guys do? Let me know. Stop quickly, Siobhan says. Rosina, depends, right? Afnan was saying stop, right? I did not follow the advice of Afnan. I continued driving, right? I stepped on the gas pedal. I shot through the intersection. But when I did that, something fell off my dashboard into my lap. In human nature, I looked down. And then when I looked up, I didn't realize the car in front of me stopped. So what happened? All of a sudden, I smashed into that car. And then that's my car at the time. It was completely totaled, right? And fortunately, that other person was okay. But for me, like my body was pretty shaken up. And at one point, there's times you think you're invincible. That was the time I realized I wasn't invincible. And for me, I knew I was feeling overwhelmed. My personal energy check level, but I kept saying, I'll take care of it next week. I'll catch up on sleep next weekend. I'll do the next day. And eventually it caught up and I had this accident. And this was one of many wake-up calls that I got. And what I just want to share with you is that if you feel yourself feeling a little overwhelmed, it's your personal energy check light to saying, hey, give me a break. So one of the things I started doing, especially in a height even further during this pandemic, where I remember at the beginning of this year, we went all virtual events and I was in front of a TV screen all the time because I remember one week we did like some crazy, like 12, 14 events in like 2 weeks. And my eyes were just burning, right? And there's little things I do where like I buy these like $20 glasses from Amazon. It's like blue light blockers, things like that to help me out. But I was reminded to take time for me. And so what I would do is every morning, that's my sacred time. I wake up, I start playing music, I start singing. Why? Because it makes me feel good. After I sing, I do all that stuff. I then take a moment, I look at I have a little vision board, right? I reminded from the important things in my life, from family, friends, health, all that good stuff. And I look at that and I think about things I'm grateful for my eyes I can see, my ears, my beating heart. After my wife tested positive for COVID, I started thanking God for my smell, my taste. And I think about all the goals of my life. I make time to exercise, and that's my time to take care of me, right? And what I would encourage and invite all of you to do is to make some time for you every single day. Why? Because it's sort of like a cell phone. How many of you guys charge your cell phone every day? Show of hands, show of virtual hands, right? How many of you guys you do not forget to plug in your phone because your phone's dying, it's an emergency. But check this out. But how many of us make time to plug ourselves in every day? Because I think we're all like our cell phones, right? Our cell phone dies because we're streaming video, we're on different apps, and it drains our energy. Well, we're like our phones, we got a lot of apps in our lives. We got school, we got family, we got work, right? We got time for ourselves, and these things drain our energy. But for many people, I've noticed during this time, a lot of people forget to plug themselves in. And the reason why is usually number one, people, they feel guilty in doing that. And if you're in that page, don't feel guilty of taking care of you, because check this out. If you're operating on 3%, there's no way you could give 100%. So it's important to take time for you and give yourself that permission to do so every day, to plug yourselves in, right? Whether it's for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And if you're thinking like, Juan, I know this, I gotta make time for me, but you don't understand how busy I am. Let me ask you, do you brush your teeth every day? I hope so, right? Because it's important to you and the people around you. But check this out. You make time for what's important, whether it's checking your social media, whether it's watching videos on YouTube, on Netflix, we make time for what's important. And all I'm inviting you to do is just to carve out some time for you. And because you take care of yourself, you know you feel better. When you feel better, you do better. So let me ask you this quick question. We're about to bump some music here, but I want you to go ahead and write this down on a piece of paper on your phone, or type this into your laptop, whatever you can write with. I'm gonna give you 1 minute, and I'm gonna ask you to think for yourself, what activities recharge you? What things do you love doing that makes you feel good, that maybe you haven't been doing as much with adjusting to the pandemic? I'm gonna give you about 30 seconds, and your goal for this time is to write down as many things as possible. All right, we're gonna play some music here. You got 30 seconds to write down everything that you enjoy, that recharges you. Go ahead and go. Very good. You got 10 seconds left. Awesome. I'm seeing people hitting up the chat box. Falu's saying playing some bomb music. Norma saying going for a walk. Isabel staying with my kids, my family, working as a volunteer with Isabel, speaking with family and friends with Rosina. Folu saying watching a funny movie, going to the countryside with Franco, playing, listening to music. You guys shared some beautiful things. Now, this is what we're going to do. My goal, as I shared earlier, is to create community, to create a fun environment. So what's going to happen in a moment is we are going to partner everybody up, right? We're going to put you out in separate breakout rooms because I want you to be able to connect with one another and having a good time with one another. So I know Josue's coming in. Josue, you came at the right time, my friends. We're glad to have you here. Now, what's going to happen? I'm going to show you some questions, right? So what's going to happen is this. I want you to think about all the things you listed down, things that recharge you. And I just want you to choose one activity. What is one activity on the list that gives you the most energy, that you enjoy the most out of the entire list? Just for the sake of this exercise, I want you to choose one thing. And what's going to happen is this. If you want, you take this screenshot. Also, Siobhan, if you'd be kind enough, she'll be posting these questions in the chat box. You'll be paired up with a partner. And you're going to have, choose one partner to go first. And the partner going first, you'll be answering these questions. The other partner will ask these questions, right? So, hey, what's the one activity that you love that recharges you, right? So it's like, oh, you know, for me, I just love just listening to R&B. I love journaling. I love this. Well, how does that make you feel when you participate in this activity? You know, for me personally, I love music. Music just is a way for me just to feel so calm and at peace. And there's this song, I forgot the artist name, but the song called Sparrows. And it's a really nice, peaceful song that I really enjoy. But for me, it just helps me to recollect myself and put things in perspective. And then the last question you had, partner, is like, what will you do to keep yourself accountable to this more often? Because real talk is that, right, you can feel inspired by our time together, but my goal is for you to take this inspiration or whatever great emotion that you get from our time together and you turn it into action, and that you create a habit out of that, whether it's making time for you, doing the hold up, that is whack, because that's what's going to change your life, is creating some action in your life. So what we keep yourself accountable. I know for me personally is that when I wake up, that's the first thing I do. I listen to music. So I don't ever start my day without listening to a set of 3 songs every day that puts me in the zone. So I keep myself accountable. Also, every time I speak, I share about this experience. So people keep me accountable, like, hey, what songs do you listen to? Right? For me, I listen to Lord, I Need You. I think I listen to Waymaker, Mandisa's version. I listen to Sparrows. Those are my 3 songs that get me in the right mind space. But that's how I keep myself accountable. Again, you'll be doing this with your partner. So if you can, either take a picture of the screen or you'll load in the chat box. Siobhan will post the questions in there. What we're going to do, or actually, let me ask you this. As Siobhan continues to type in, is when you're with your partner, to make it easier, the person that has the shorter hair, they will be asking the question. The person with the longer hair will be answering, and then you'll switch. So we're going to give you, let's say, 3 minutes total. All right. So, and then you'll get a message when you should switch if you haven't. So you'll get reminders, but you'll see in the chat box 3 questions. So when you're with your partner, you have the questions there, but we're going to give you 3 minutes. Siobhan's going to be putting people into breakouts. You'll be paired up. And all I want you to do is simply answer this question. I know we have Jermaine coming in here. So we're going to welcome Jermaine Santos. Came in at the right time as well. But again, you'll be paired up. You have 3 minutes for the exercise, 1.5 minutes each person. Any questions before we begin, before we break you out into the rooms? Awesome. So have fun connecting with one another. We will see you in a couple minutes.
Okay, everybody is in their room.
Awesome.
Hit record. That wasn't enough.
It was not enough time. Well, thank you for that feedback. That's how it is, right? Because it's great to connect with one another. So let me ask you this: is what would you take away from doing that exercise? And if Siobhan, if you go ahead and turn off the music, Denise, if you wouldn't mind starting off with this, you already said it's not enough time, but let us know what did you take away from doing that experience?
Quite frankly, I should be more like her.
What do you mean?
That's what I actually took out of this experience, because you know she takes a day out of the week and she does different things. You know, she likes what excites her the most. And by the way, I spoke to Estelle. What she like enjoys the most is to listen to gospel music. So you know, like that actually like brings it down and gets her. I guess that's like the spirituality side. She loves K-drama. So and she finds then like a learning moment, like she can learn from their culture. She laughs with the shows. She feels like she's winding down. She feels calm. She feels happy. And also she loves fashion. So she loves the fashion. She loves like the versatility that they have. And you know, like she feels balanced because she's able to do that once a week. She said, you know, I don't do this every single day. I do it once a week. And listening to her saying that, it's like, I don't do that. So.
Gotcha. Very cool. Awesome. So let me ask you, what are you going to do based on doing this exercise? What was your one thing, and then what are you going to keep accountable to?
I guess what I'm going to do is actually like time my days better.
Okay. And then by timing days better, what thing will you do to recharge yourself? What is that activity?
Well, for me, it's actually like listening to music. When I first wrote this, one of the things that I wrote was sleep, and that's something that I've been doing lately a lot. So I think I'm gonna scratch that out of my list and probably do something else.
Yeah. So I think it's beautiful. So listen to music. Is there a particular type of music that you like?
No, I listen to everything.
Okay. So one suggestion thought is maybe saying, hey, just like you said, time of the day, just schedule a time, right? Just like, you know, this every Friday is at 3:30. Well, guess what? Every morning you can have an alarm or in your schedule, say, hey, you know what? This is time for me, Denise time to go chill, take care of me, you know? Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Anyone else would like to share? Just raise your hand or raise your virtual hand. If you'd like to share, we'll call on you here. So many hands, who should I choose? All right, Chris Nificent, go ahead and unmute yourself.
We, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, my man. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? So we're glad you're here too. What did you take away from this exercise?
What exercise?
The one that we just did on what activity recharges you.
What do you mean by that?
So were you in the breakout session?
What do you mean by that?
Were you in the breakout session we just did?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was in that session. Yes.
Perfect. So when we talked about,
yes,
hey, what's something you
there.
can do to recharge you? What was the activity that would recharge you that will help you take better care of yourself?
Well, to be honest, I am very social. I am very, very, and at this point in time, and the time living in this pandemic, it's not getting any easy. I not have my driver's license yet. I may not drive, but for me, I am spiritual. I believe in my God, and to be honest, I like talking to friends. So you see me on the chat, live and texting, because I'm visual. And the one thing that I like is talking to Yanira, because she's my best friend. She may not know that she's here, but so we talk very often. always been with me to good and bad, as God do good and bad. So from this point in time, she got the most. So Yanira, if you're there, thank you for your support. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much
So
for
yes,
sharing. I
thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you much. Awesome. So now with that being said, we talked about having an honest attitude. We talk about making time for you, charging yourself up. The last thing I want to share that will support you and continue to overcoming adversities, developing that resilience and mental strength is realizing that you're not alone. It's realizing that life is a team sport. We're in this together. Understand the back of your jersey might say Rosina, it might say Sandra, it might say Lamb, it might say Josue, it might say Jason, but the front of your jersey, you're part of Team Hostos Community College, is that there's this community, Jason, staff members that are there for you, and realize that you're not alone and that there's so much more we can do together. One of my favorite quotes, this is African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go farther, go together. Realize that we are all in this together and that you can do a lot. But the challenge is a lot of people are afraid to ask for help. They have that wax song. And one of the common ones I hear is because, oh, if I ask for help, then what does it mean about me? Does it mean I'm not good enough? I'm not strong. It shows I'm weak. And show whatever it is. And what I want you to realize is that if you have that wax song of like, oh, I ask for help, but I don't want to burden anybody, or I feel like, oh man, if I ask for help, what does that mean about me? Is understand it's okay if you're feeling that. I used to deal with that a lot. And what I learned is the reason why people don't express or ask for help is that fear of being judged, or the fear of like, oh, it shows I'm weak. What I realized is this: when you ask for help, it doesn't show you're weak, it shows you're strong, because it takes courage to be vulnerable. And the reason why I shared my story with you guys about the suicidal thoughts, different challenges I've been through, because that's a part of my experience in life. And when you share that, what I've noticed is that when you lower your wall, people feel more comfortable lower their walls, right? Like if I came in here like, hey, Jason said, hey, check out this guy. And I put on this front, like, dude, I got all this together and I've never been through challenges. My life's been perfect. You guys probably won't relate with that. I mean, is that right? Yes or no? Yeah. So that's why I like to be real, because when you're real, what happens is that people connect that way. I'll give you a story where my dad and I were very close. My dad and I also, we can be very stubborn and we don't like to share emotion. And I remember one day my dad, he said, hey, can you transfer my music from my iPod to my iPhone? And I was like, yeah, Dad, I'll get to it. And what happened, a couple of weeks go by and my dad's like, hey, did you finish it? I said, oh, Dad, I've been so busy, my bad. He's like, forget it, I'll do it. I then had the audacity to get upset at my dad. I'm like, no, I'll do it. And then I go plug it in and I'm like, dude, why is it so hard? And the thing is, I'm an Android guy, I'm a PC guy. So I'm like, dude, it should be just click and drag. It should be that easy. But it takes me like hours. I get so frustrated. I get done. And I walk over to him and I hand him off his phone, his iPod. And the thing is, as I hand it off to him, I get super embarrassed. Why? Because, man, I remember back to all the times my dad has always had my back, where my dad was the single income provider. He'd leave work at 5 o'clock in the morning, get home late at night. He'd get home late at night, but then he'd go mow the lawn. He'd go, anything that's broke around the house, he'd fix it. He helped my mom cook. He's at all my sporting events. Whatever I did, my dad would always do for me. And one of my fondest memory is when I was younger, I used to like love McDonald's French fries. So I would call my dad at work. I'm like, hey, Dad, how's it going? Like, hey, can you buy me McDonald's French fries? And he's like, I can't promise you I'll do this, but I'll do my best. Every time that I would call for French fries, he would always come home with a bag of McDonald's French fries. That's the type my dad is amazing husband, just incredible role model. And in that moment, I was just so embarrassed because I'm thinking, dude, all he asked me to do was just to transfer music. It could have took me 30 minutes, but I made up all these excuses why it took me so long. So when I hand him his iPod and iPhone, I say, hey, Dad, I just want to thank you for always having my back, for always being there for me. I just want to apologize for taking so long to do this simple task. Whenever I needed help, you do things right away for me. And I just want to apologize for taking so long. I open up my heart, I pour this out to him. And in return, he says, okay. I'm like, for real? That's all I get? Days go by. And I remember my dad asked me to bring something for him. And I was traveling a lot during that time. So my brain was fried. I just totally forgot. My dad's like, oh, are you kidding me, dude? Like, dude, I reminded you too. I text multiple text messages and you still forgot. I'm like, Dad, man, I just don't remember nothing right now. Next day he comes up to me and he's like, hey, I want to apologize for overreacting. He says, man, like, I just can't imagine, you must be tired and exhausted. And I want to apologize for acting that way. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is because my dad and I would never have these type of conversations ever to express what we were feeling or even to apologizing for each other. But what I've come to take away was that, again, you can't control other people, but what you can control is you. And what I do know is that because I was willing to first come to him and apologize, to show gratitude, but apologize for not following through, it gave him the comfort to lower his wall to be vulnerable as well, right? This is a picture of my dad and I, my pops. This was a couple years back. My dad had retired. This is my dad in the right-hand corner. And you know how I'm not sure you guys heard the saying of like, take your child to work day. You guys know that? So for me, this take your parent to work day, right? So we're going to the ATL. My dad was recently retired. My mom had flown back to Vietnam. So he was home by himself. I'm like, yo, Dad, hey, if you want, once you fly out for me to work, right? So we flew down to the ATL. He came to my event. I was able to give him a shout out. We went to the Coca-Cola factory. We just had a chance to just have a lot of fun with one another. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because one of the biggest things I've realized that can support you to have connection during this time is just being real. It's being vulnerable like you did in our time together. And it's being vulnerable to people that are important to you. I want you to think about who is someone in your life that you would like to have a stronger relationship with, who you'd like to be closer with, right? Whether it's a spouse, whether it's a parent, a family member, a close friend, whoever it is, I want you to think about this person. And I want to give you 3 practical ways to increase your relationship or connection with them. The 3 ways that you can be vulnerable. Actually, there's 4 ways. I just thought of an extra one. But 3 ways I'm going to give you is this. Number 1 is asking for help. It's showing, hey, I don't got everything together. Would you mind helping with this? This is something I know my dad loves. He loves helping out. He's a person that he does things to show his love. So it's like engaging my dad more or engaging with friends to ask for help. Number 2 is apologizing. There's times where if maybe you did something unintentionally, but it hurt somebody, then maybe say, hey, dude, I just want to apologize. That was my bad. That was not my intention. I'm taking full responsibility for it. Number 3, I think is the most difficult, is forgiving someone. It's letting go. Forgiving is not about pretending it didn't happen, but I learned that forgiving is accepting that it happened and saying, no, I'm going to move forward in my life now and not allow it to live rent-free in my head. The 4th thing you can do is just express appreciation, right? One of the things I love doing is reaching out to people who've positively impacted my life, sending them a text message, give them a phone call, sending an email to say, hey, you know what? I just want to say thank you for the impact that you've made in my life. I know for me, I have an email from a person that intervened in my life when I had those suicidal thoughts. And I'm going to be sending him an email after so many years where I got his email because he used to be a teacher in Italy. I connected the director, but I'm going to email him to express my gratitude. But that's another way you can be vulnerable. But I want to share with you, and my hope is in our time together, you realize it's possible to have a meaningful connection online, despite it not being ideal. It is possible. And my hope is that whoever you thought about that you'd like to have a stronger relationship with, you like to be closer with, is that you reach out to that person. I'm going to invite you to reach out to that person and send a message of appreciation, maybe ask them for help. Maybe it's apologizing to someone, maybe it's forgiving someone. But whoever you're thinking of, what I would encourage you to do is to reach out to that person and show some vulnerability so that you can increase your connection with that individual. Because for me, what I realized, I used to work as a corporate trainer for a guy named Tony Robbins, and he said, the purpose of all relationships, whether it's an intimate relationship, a friendship, is the purpose of every relationship is to magnify what you feel. So for example, is if you're going through, like if you go to some cool place, you're by yourself, it's cool, but when you get to share it with someone that you care about, it's significantly cooler. Vice versa, when you're going through a tough time, is that when you share it with people, it's not as bad because there's other people to catch you and for you to catch other people. So I encourage you to connect with that person, express some vulnerability. and see the positive change you'll have in your relationship. Now, with that being said, with our time winding down, I want to open up to any questions or thoughts. Why? Because this isn't about me. This is about you guys. For the last 6 years, I've had the opportunity to work with Jason, to come to you guys' community, to connect with awesome students like yourselves. I have a very special place in my heart for Hostos Community College. Every fall is a highlight for me to fly into the Bronx. It gives me this gritty feeling, right? It's just, for me, it's just being able to connect and hear people's stories. That's what's a highlight for me. It's not about speaking. I can care less. Speaking is just my way to connect with other amazing people like yourselves, to hear amazing stories like all of you. But my goal every time that I've had the chance to come to Hostos is to be coming from a place of service. I know every time I talk to Jason before he comes in, he's like, hey, what can you talk about? Here's some things about our group. I come up with what I feel that can be best support during this time, but it really comes from you guys. So I want to open up the floor to any questions or thoughts. This can be about American Ninja Warrior. It could be something we talked about. It could be something we didn't talk about. We had events virtually. It's crazy. We had events where people stay like 50 minutes afterwards. I'm not trying to tell you to stay 50 minutes afterwards, but what I'm saying is that I'm willing to answer any questions you may have regarding our time or things that you're going through now. So if you have any questions, please enter in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and raise your virtual hand. I'll call on you and you can ask your question then. So what can I do to support you guys? What questions do you have? What things did we cover? What can we elaborate on? Any questions or thoughts? All right, we got a big question in the chat box. Let me pull it up here. All right, so it's true. Oh, it's comment, Chrisnificent. Like I do, feel isolated during the pandemic because I wasn't popular girls in high school, but when I got to college, almost had her. She's gone. Like she was Dominican. I'm honest, I don't judge. I think God still have connection with these ladies. Awesome, man. That's what it's about, man. It's from like talking about the era of relationships, like things don't always work out, but the key thing like is leaving something better than when you left off, right? So every relationship is to teach you a learning lesson. It may not be meant to be, but for me, this is me talking from a guy's perspective. Like before I met my wife, my thing was always to set a certain bar of how a woman should be treated. And for them to recognize, hey, if you're gonna interact with me, if it doesn't work out, but at least you should know what it feels like to be respected, to be honored, to be loved on, and not to accept anything less, right? So I think all relationships happen for reasons. There's a saying, friends for a reason are friends for a season. There's some people that they're meant to be in your lifetime, some people meant to be a season of your life. Questions or thoughts, right? We have a question here. Like they say, do you have any tips for time management or motivation? Time management, I like to keep things simple. Life can be complicated. So it's real easy for me personally is if I'm trying to get something done, I use what's called the Pomodoro technique. You Google Pomodoro, Pomodoro, Pomodoro. That's a tomato, but essentially the idea is whatever you're doing, you work for 25 minutes. So you can set your alarm clock on your phone for 25 minutes and it helps you to focus. After that ringer goes off, you have a 5-minute break, then 25 minutes. After 4 blocks of 25 minutes, then you give yourself a 30-minute break. And what that allows you to do is rather than saying, oh, I worked all day. I mean, did you really work all day? Or did you spend a part of the day checking social media? I've been guilty plenty of times, but that's what helps me to focus my time and energy. In regards to scheduling my week, I always on Sunday or Mondays, that's when I plan my week out. There's a quote by Russell Wilson, the star quarterback for the Seahawks. He says, separation is in the preparation. And I believe that when you prepare for the day or the week or the month or the year, you can get more things done intentionally. So those are my tips from a time management point of view. For motivation, for me, I'm not sure you guys do, but I have my vision board. I look at it every single day, every morning when I wake up, every night when I go to bed. It puts things in perspective for me, right? In regards to like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because there's always a point you're like, I don't feel like doing it. But that's where your why kicks in. So me with my vision board, that's what keeps me motivated. Other questions or thoughts, feel free to enter the chat box or raise your hand and we can call on you that way as well. Questions or thoughts, no holds barred. You can ask me anything you want. I'll tell you this, man, if you talk about relationships, dude, I can go for hours in that area. I can drop some pearls of wisdom that changed my life during my senior year in college that completely changed it around. But anything you want me to talk about, Up to you guys. Any questions, thoughts? Again, if you want to talk, raise your hand, or you can enter privately or anonymously or in the group chat, and we can answer it that way as well. If there's no more questions, dude, then I'm not going to try to take more of your time. Is that it? We good, guys? All right, I'm gonna volunteer some information now. All right, because I'm high on this topic. Okay, I'm gonna talk about relationships for a quick second. This is not part of the program, but this is important information, life changing, that should have been taught in school. Check this. Oh, Abdul, do you want to ask something, or are you just really eager to hear this relationship advice? Your audio is not coming through clearly, Abdul. So if you want, if you can type it out and message it, then I can make sure I address it. All right. So this is what I'm sharing. So senior year in college, I convinced my professor, like, hey, I got to go to this 6-day seminar. I just, can you push my finals back? So everyone took finals on this day. I got an extension of an extra week to take my finals. I went to the 6-day event. It's literally 12 hours a day with 2,000 people from hundreds of different countries. And this event, it's actually on Netflix, not the event I was at, but the type of event. If you type in, I'm Not Your Guru with Tony Robbins, it gives you an idea of what this event's like. But it talked all about relationships. And the essence was this, rather than saying man and woman, right? Whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, doesn't matter. Their idea was, rather than talk about as in man thinks this way, woman thinks this way, is masculine and feminine energy. So we all have both of these energies of how we kind of interact. And this was a powerful idea. Masculine energy, where you're male or female or whatever you identify as, masculine energy is something we all have. And an example of masculine energy is very direct in communication. Feminine energy is very indirect in communication. Example, I'm gonna use my wife and I, for example. I remember one time my wife was like, she went shopping for shoes and she said, hey, I want to show you my shoes I got. And she said, I bought, like, there's 2 pairs of shoes. One, it didn't fit well. The other one fit well. And she's like, let me show you. And then she put on the shoes. We're about to go and walk into church. She puts on the shoes. She's like, oh man, I grabbed the wrong pair of shoes. What should we do? I'm like, all right, because I do this, that's an indirect way of saying like, oh man, I want to go back to get the shoes. So I was like, all right, let's go and go back to get the shoes. We go to church later on. But that's an example of being indirect, right? Another example of masculine and feminine energy is masculine energy likes to fix and solve. Feminine energy likes to share. I'll give you an example. Is there are times in the past, like I naturally want to help people with anything they're going through. But then I started learning where at this event, it was so funny where I was partnered with this gal. We're doing this exercise. She's like, oh man, I was on this rough day. I started to cry. And I told my husband, like, give me some chocolates, please. So we got her chocolates. Instantly, she felt better. Next time she's crying, he's like, oh man. He goes to the store, buys some chocolates. He comes back, gives her the chocolate. She's like, what? Why are you giving these chocolates? Are you trying to make me fat? And he's like, are you for real? And it's because in his head, it's like, I got to solve this problem. But in that situation, she didn't need the chocolate, but he assumed that she needed the chocolate. So there's times my wife and I, she's very feminine energy. There's times she's having a rough day. And so I'm like, I listen. I'm like, hey, do you need me to continue listening and provide you with emotional support? Or are you looking for some advice to solve this issue? Right? So there's times that I just want you guys to realize this is a powerful dynamic, because there's times I've talked to women, we're like, man, why doesn't this guy get it? Like, I'll give you an example, my cousin or my brother-in-law, he's driving a car and this girl's like, hey, you hungry? He's like, no, I'm cool. I got my beef jerky. Bro, she's trying to say that she was hungry, pull over, get her some food. But he was like, he took it literally because she was speaking indirectly. You guys feel me on that? So all I'm sharing is that this was life-changing for me, because it helped me to recognize, like, wait a minute, right now I'm trying to have this masculine energy, but that's not what my wife needs. And I'll take it to another level higher. My wife and I, after we got married, we never lived in one spot before we got married. We never lived in the same area. So when we got married, that's when we finally lived together for the first time. It was in the same vicinity. So we went through and learned a lot of things about each other we didn't know. But knowing from my friends that marriage takes work, right? There's this saying where a wedding is a day, a marriage is a lifetime. You know, having a baby is a day, but raising a baby is a lifetime, right? People see is what's sexy on TV. People don't see of the work it takes. And that's the same, especially with relationships. So we joined a marriage group and we're with other couples from different backgrounds with the same goal of having an awesome marriage. And one of the things that they taught, and I'm going to share this with you because I spoke at the Johns Hopkins University a week ago, and they had me address things on like the Asian hate crimes that are happening. And we talked about empathy. This is what I learned through the marriage group. When you talk about day-to-day things that are happening, whether it's shootings of people, whether it's hate crime, social injustice, no matter what, when you talk regarding anything that creates emotion, the key is how do you have empathy during this time when another person thinks differently from you? And that happens a lot in like an intimate relationship. And so what we learned was a technique called the crazy cycle. This happens all the time in relationships, whether it's coworkers, friends, intimate relationships, where all of a sudden someone can have a bad day. I'm gonna use myself example. I've been guilty, stressful day at work. And all of a sudden my wife can have a great day. I can come back to her and my attitude can be a residue onto her. And she's like, what? Like, why are you not being nice to me? So therefore, if you're nice to me, I don't want to feel, I'm not inspired to feel nice to you. That's what creates a crazy cycle. So it's like whenever you argue about something and you're like, dude, what are we arguing about? That's the crazy cycle. Like, and the key is you got to be aware of it. And one person has to have the maturity to stop and jump off the crazy cycle to stop it. So applying this to relationships and into topics of discussion that can create emotion is we learned this at a marriage retreat and on regards to empathy, right? Empathy for me, the definition is making the conscious decision to take whatever you're thinking and feeling and setting it aside intentionally so that you can understand what the other person is thinking and feeling. So during this whole retreat, it asks us to like, hey, describe to us, what do you feel from a scale from 1 to 10? If you're feeling had a color, what color would it be? If your feeling could speak, what would it say? And by doing this exercise, it helped to exercise that muscle of restraint and not speaking whatever I was feeling, but also fully listening, right? When I talked about that example earlier, when that person was making comments about, no, I don't want to bag his chips because I don't want coronavirus, all that. In the past years ago, I've been like, let me comment back and put this person in their place. But it helped me to say, hey, you know what? Let me have the empathy. It's like, I don't know what's going on in their life. They can have hate towards me, hate towards not wanting someone's face. I'm not going to try to take it personally, right? And it's the same thing when different topics. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic with George Floyd, a lot of emotions came about. We had different emotions from family members that live in Minnesota, where my wife's family from. But the key is that there's a saying by Dr. Seem Cummings, seek first to understand, then to be understood. The practical exercise you can take away is just realizing when something pops up, it's like, all right, this person has a certain emotion. I can be right, or I can choose to have empathy during this time. But realize if I choose to jump on this board, it can start a crazy cycle. So just acknowledge whenever you're in a crazy cycle, you notice there's this argument that kind of just keeps arguing about nothing. It's like, hey, you know what? Let me take a step back, give time to cool off, and then seek first to understand and then be understood. So hopefully that gives you some perspective from an empathy point of view, but also from the masculine and feminine energy point of view in regards to relationships from that context. Questions and thoughts before we end our time together?
Yes, I like to talk.
Yes, Chris.
Hear me? Yes. So what basically we said was so true at the moment, and the fact that I know that in TV shows they portray the beautiful side of marriage, intimate relationship, but they don't show the kind or the negativity behind it. Got from your experience a lot of information, and those information I'm going to now apply in my life and put into practice each and every day. So by the time God gives me the right one, or soon to be the right one, I'm not sure, then I could use your experience as an example and apply it to what you basically just said. So basically what you said was true, and I like the testimony experience that you share. I learned again a lot. Thank you, man.
Yeah, you're very welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for that, the compliment and kind words. Denise had a question. What was the bad habit you took most of your time and energy to get rid of? I've had a lot of bad habits, Denise, but I guess one I'll share is for me, I used to spend a lot of time with, like, I'm a big fan of like mixed martial arts, the UFC. So I used to have to I felt that I needed to watch every single UFC live. And the thing is that UFC, mixed martial arts, it's gotten so big where they have like fights every weekend. And same thing with like Seahawks football game. I used to have this idea like I need to watch it right now. And that was just a bad habit. Like I realized, dude, like those things are cool, but I got other important priorities. So it's just recognizing for ourselves, like what you think is a need, is it truly a want? So it was letting go of that habit. Exactly, $70 per pay-per-view. It's crazy. So that was one of many bad habits that I've had in my life that I think about this way is whatever is important to you, whatever goals you have to let go of something to be able to grab something else, right? The metaphors, think about the place you live at is if you want, like I was telling this to my wife. So my wife, we have such great conversations about this. She works as an influencer, right? Part-time, she works as a registered nurse, but then she started being an influencer. So she'll do collaborations with different companies where she recently did one with Listerine, promoting kind of like, the Listerine mouthwash. She recently did one with this like organic flower company, but she also does a lot with clothing companies. So she'll get free clothes at times. And I'm thinking like, we're talking about starting a family. I'm like, where are you gonna put the baby stuff? She's like, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, dude, your closet's full. I gotta move my closet into my office space here. And we say it jokingly, but I say, like, hey, we're talking about, for me, I like to plan things out. I'm like, hey, if we're talking about kids, like, let's start planning now. Like, if you want a registry stuff, like whatever you're thinking of, just put it in one registry so we have it. Check that off, we move on to the next thing. And so, but I told her like, hey, like, if you keep getting free clothes, like our space, there's a limited amount of space. So you got to let go of some old stuff so that you can have space for new and great stuff. And I think it's the same thing with your life. Is a lot of people want like, I don't feel like waking up early. I don't feel like staying up late. Well, life is always a trade-off. So if you want something greater, you have to let go of something that is not as important. Awesome. Other questions or thoughts? Yanira, thank you so much for the kind words. As we enter time here, I'd like to ask you guys this. I love to have candid feedback. What did you enjoy most about our time together? And if you don't raise your hand, I'm just going to straight up call on you. So I'm just being upfront. But what did you enjoy about our time together? Right, Andre, go ahead and unmute yourself and share with us. What did you enjoy about our time together? And go ahead and repeat that question as well.
Okay, so what I enjoyed about our time together, well, during this session, is that you made us like really feel better about ourselves and not to worry about things despite of the pandemic. And I liked how you made us you sent us into breakout rooms so we can get to know each other better and stuff like that. And I really like that aspect of your presentation. So I just wanted to thank you for it.
That's what's up, my friend. I'm gonna give you a fist bump for that. Thank you. Awesome. Mate, go ahead and unmute yourself. And did I pronounce that correctly? Mate?
Maite?
Mate?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me ask you this. What surprised you most about our time together? I'm going to repeat the question. What surprised you most about our time together?
What surprised me the most about our time together was how upbeat everything was, if that makes sense. I especially enjoyed the how well it made me feel when I just said that song is whack. Forget about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Rosina, would you like to share? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Let me ask you this, Rosina, is if another student were thinking about attending one of these events by your guys' Leadership Academy, what would you tell them?
I'll tell them just come prepared, come with your book and your pen because you're gonna take a lot of information and things that is gonna help you in your journey, whether it's been personal life, school life, work life, whatever it is, you're gonna learn a lot. That's what I'll tell the person.
Very cool. Let me ask you this also, is that what did you enjoy most about our time together? Repeat the question.
Just a minute. Can I answer that later? I have to.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, not a problem. Awesome. Thanks for letting me know that. Yanira.
Yes.
Yeah, so let us know, what did you enjoy most about our time together?
Making the list to help you identify what are the activities that help you to get rid of your stress and realize that you need time for that too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Your stories and how you overcome to your situations.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate the kind words. Awesome. Can we have, I see, do we have Isabel? I think Isabel raised her hand if she's still here.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. This session was amazing. I enjoy all of the session, what you say. Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Thank you, boss, also Mr. Jason. All the workshops I enjoy because I improve myself. My skills is to improving. That's why I enjoy also sharing the stories what you give us as students. We need these tips, especially these times. Thank you so much.
Gracias, Isabel. Awesome. With that being said, guys, Abdul, hopefully your audio is working. I want to give you the opportunity. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really want to appreciate you for the presentation. And I will say personally that this workshop and the presentation has actually recharged my spirit. Like one of your presentation, one of the things you said that what we do, how we recharge ourselves. This is one of the things that recharged me. I would say Jason really know how to recharge people by putting together programs like this in this workshop, because I know I'm somebody that against all odds, I've been able to get myself into school. By God's grace, I'm graduating this year. I migrated from Africa to America with my family, like I said, against all odds. I've been able to meet up to standard. I'm in school, which is a priority, and every other thing are going on well, in spite of the pandemic. With the support of the school, people like the JC, Jerry, the president of the school, the SGA, and all, and your wonderful self for this presentation. So what we know before, we are adding to it because we learn every day. And all the experiences that have been shared here today is applicable to us, and we learn more new things. So I want to say thank you very much because you have recharged my spirit to forge ahead and continue, with that resilience of getting things done the way it should be done. So I say thank you once again.
Thank you, Abdul, for the kind words. Thank you for sharing your inspiring story. And my hope is that you guys all recognize that all of you are overcomers, that you have such an incredible support system at Hostos Community College. So thank you again for the kind words and for sharing, Abdul. Estelle, I know you raised your hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah. What did I enjoy in the?
Yeah. So what did you enjoy most about our time together?
Jason, did you just do that? All right. With me, it's your vulnerability that you brought out. I was surprised that you made yourself that vulnerable. And if I'm not mistaken, you are from the Asian background, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are some things that I know in Asian culture, you just don't share like that, most especially when it comes to marriage and whatnot. So when you're talking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can relate. Wow, this is good. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Yeah, well, thank you for the kind words. And
Sure.
I think it's important, especially as a community with all of you guys, is so many times I've recognized it is that when I go through some challenging, I'm like, dude, am I the only one? But you're never the only one. That's a whack song. Everyone has been through what you've gone through. And it's so easy now, this virtual, to isolate ourselves. Like, oh, no one gets me. And now I'm gonna have to see person in person. So I'm just gonna hide behind a screen. And my hope that you realize from our time together is one, is that, wow, we have more in common than we have differences, is that we are on this bigger team together, and that we can do a lot more, right? If we want to go fast, go alone, but if we want to go farther, go together. Is that hopefully from our time together, you'll continue to attend these Friday workshops. If you have other friends that should have been here, invite them for the next one, right? Go, if you're not, go and schedule yourselves for all the workshops so you get that Zoom reminder, but then invite fellow friends out as well, so that you can continue to build upon this community. It hasn't been easy. Everyone has gone through adjustments, some people more than others. But I think what's really important is to recognize that we're in this together. So thank you, Estelle, for the kind words and for what you shared. Now, as our time winds down, I'm gonna end with this, guys. Check this out. I got two $1 bills. They represent us as individuals. I believe your ability to overcome adversity, to succeed in school and in life, it doesn't come down to your background. I mean, from our time, it's evident from all the things that you guys have overcome. What success is about, overcoming challenges, is what are you going to do during those difficult moments when they do arise? And what my hope is you take away from our time there is, number one, you decide to have an honest attitude. Don't force yourself to feel positive and put on a front. Rather, acknowledge how you feel. Gain perspective by connecting with other people and deciding you want to take action. When you have that negative self-talk playing, remember, you say, hold up, that's whack, change that playlist. Secondly, is you realize, make that time for you. When your personal engine check light is on, make sure you pull yourself over. When you're feeling tired and exhausted, it's because your battery is low. So make that time to plug yourself in every single day, whether it's 15, 30 minutes, beginning of the day, end of the day, but make that time, schedule it to recharge yourself. And then lastly, recognize that we're in this together. Life is a team sport. And if you want to make more meaningful connections during this time, it comes down to being vulnerable. Maybe it's recognizing and appreciating someone for all they've done in your life. Maybe it's apologizing to somebody. It's asking someone for help. Maybe it's forgiving somebody, acknowledging it happened, and moving on with your life. I believe if you apply these principles to your life, your ability to succeed and to thrive and to overcome adversity will increase 5, 10, or possibly 100-fold. Guys, my name is Juan Doe. It was such an honor to spend this time with you. If I can support you in any way, please feel free to connect me at thatiswhack.com, for real, no joke. Or you can just hit me up on social media. You can Google my name. But if I can be of any support, please feel free to reach out. It was so awesome to connect with all of you. You have an amazing Friday, amazing weekend. I'm going to hand it over to Jason to close us out.
Juan, thank you so much. I've always appreciated you. I appreciated your visits with us. You always have an impact on our students, and it's one of those things that I was missing, your visits in the fall. And so when we reached out and you were willing to give of yourself and give of your time, volunteer your services to us and come back and join us, that it really sort of made my heart race a little faster. It made me feel like, we're really on the right track. And as I said to Juan, and when you guys were in the breakout sessions, and I've said to you guys over and over again, these Fridays really mean the world to me. They keep me going, keep me focused on what our vision is and what our mission is. And so, Juan, I want to give you all the applause in the world and thanks. And everybody, if you could do like some virtual applause or anything, we really appreciate you for being here. People were writing to me during the presentation asking me if they can see the recording afterwards and share with other people. So, the word continues. The word is not, it wasn't just here for today, which it made a deep impact, I think, on a lot of people as Abdul and Estelle and Yanira and others and Maite and others said, but I think that it will continue to make an impact. And I just want, I want to say something, a thought came to me as you were speaking about relationships. And the wonderful thing about Hostos and the Leadership Academy for me is that it's provided me with relationships for my entire career, all 13 years. So all of the nice relationships I've had with, the more than 1,000 students who have been part of the Leadership Academy is awesome. And those relationships continue. And I know that there are some alumni here today who I've even taken phone calls and written recommendations for. But one of the other parts that, we don't often talk about is the nice, beautiful relationships that I get to have with the people who come in and present, right? The warm, carefully kind individuals, the people who really dedicate their services to really making life better for everybody who's in our audience, and who really think about, what the impact is going to be about what they bring to us. And Juan, you've been that person for us. I remember when Josh, recommended that we talk to each other, and we started this wonderful commitment to one another, this relationship, and I valued it from the beginning, because every time you walked into Hostos, you asked me how my family was doing. You asked me how things were going with the academy. You said, who's going to be here today? What is there anything that I can bring to this audience? And you did it again today. And thank you, Siobhan, for being here to support that as well. I really do appreciate your help. These relationships are important. Your friendship, your support of this program and me is extremely important. I want to say thank you to you. And tell you that it's truly appreciated. It doesn't go unnoticed. It does really make a difference in my life, and I know that you're making a difference in the lives of all of our students. So again, thank you from me personally, as well as from the academy. And that being said, And that being said, it's Friday. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for spending a little time with us. Thank you for getting some inspiration. I know some of you got another event coming up after this. I will be there to support you as well. And I got stuff to do here, but I really appreciate you. I hope it gets warmer over the weekend. I hope you get some time out in the sunlight. I got my first shot this week, so, things look like they're looking up, and we can hope that we'll be together again in the fall. That we'll be back out there volunteering, Isabel. I know you said volunteering makes you feel good. So I look forward to all those moments with you guys. And again, I want to say thank you, and I love you, and I miss you all, and I look forward to the time when we can be together, in the space and share and continue on our mission and our vision. So thank you so much for everything. And thank you, Juan, again. Thank you, Siobhan. And I wish you a happy weekend, everybody.
Peace, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much, Jason. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, Jason.
Take care.
Thank you.
Andre,
Bye.
take care.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you, Han.
Everybody.
Maite, Sandra, Josue, Rosini, Denise,
Boss,
Lam.
I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
It's warm outside. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just saying.
You're in Florida, so it changed.
Rub it in, why don't you,
talk
Sandra?
about Sandra? You always
I
say
just
this
I just had to say that. I'm
woman
sorry. It's
side.
Enjoy it for us.
Sandra.
Bye, Isabel. Bye, Henry. Bye,
Bye,
Alba.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Charles. Bye, Diallo.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Isabel.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye, Juan. Bye, Siobhan.
Hey, Jason, can we connect briefly?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Let's
cool.
stop. Yep.
Our ZJ Shivansh will play some music as you guys peace out. Thank you so much, guys.